Before the skyscrapers touched the clouds, before the streets buzzed with trains and cars, before the world called it the Windy City, there was only a marsh, a wet, flat land where rivers met the Great Lake. For centuries, this area was home to the Potawatomi, Miami, and other Native American tribes, who hunted, fished, and traded along the waterways connecting the Great Lakes to the Mississippi River. It was a land of quiet strength, a crossroads between worlds. In 1673, French explorers Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet became some of the first Europeans to pass through, recognizing the area's potential as a gateway between the East and the vast lands of the West. But it was not until 1803 that the United States established a small military outpost called Fort Dearborn, marking the humble beginning of what would become Chicago. Back then, it was little more than a muddy settlement surrounded by prairies and wild grasses, with harsh winters and endless winds sweeping across the lake. The early years were tough. Disease, floods, and isolation challenged the settlers. But the land's location was destiny. Sitting on the southwestern tip of Lake Michigan, Chicago became the perfect hub for trade and travel. By the 1830s, settlers poured in, farmers, merchants, immigrants, all chasing opportunity. The arrival of the Illinois and Michigan Canal in 1848 changed everything. Suddenly, goods and people could move easily between the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River. The railroads soon followed, turning Chicago into the beating heart of America's transportation network. Within a few decades, it was booming. A city of factories, warehouses, and opportunity. Immigrants from Germany, Ireland, Poland, Italy, and later Eastern Europe filled its neighborhoods, building the city with their hands and dreams. But rapid growth came with chaos. Chicago was wild, crowded, and ambitious, a city growing faster than it could handle. Then came the night that changed everything. On October 8, 1871, a small fire started in a barn on DeKoven Street. The winds were strong, the buildings dry, and the flames unstoppable. The Great Chicago Fire raged for 2 days, destroying more than 17,000 buildings and leaving 100,000 people homeless. The sky turned red, and the city burned to the ground. Chicago was gone, or so the world thought. But out of those ashes rose something extraordinary. Within days, rebuilding began. Architects, engineers, and visionaries from across the nation came to Chicago, determined to make it better than before. The destruction had cleared the way for reinvention. What followed was one of the greatest urban rebirths in history. In just 20 years, Chicago transformed itself. It became a laboratory for architecture and innovation. In 1885, the world's first skyscraper, the Home Insurance Building, rose above its streets, changing city skylines forever. The Chicago School of Architecture, led by pioneers like Louis Sullivan, invented the modern city. The skyline began to rise, one steel beam at a time. By 1893, Chicago had proven its strength to the world. Hosting the world's Columbian Exposition, the city dazzled millions with its White City, a vision of progress, technology, and art. Electric lights illuminated the fairgrounds, symbolizing the dawn of a new era. Chicago wasn't just rebuilt, it was reborn as a global icon of modernity. Yet behind the glamour, the struggle continued. The 20th century brought waves of new immigrants, especially African Americans, migrating from the South during the Great Migration. They brought music, culture, and soul, giving birth to the Chicago blues and shaping American music forever. The city pulsed with jazz, industry, and ambition. But Chicago was also a city of contrasts, wealth and poverty, beauty and corruption. During the Prohibition era of the 1920s, the city became infamous for gangsters and speakeasies. Names like Al Capone echoed through the streets, and the St. Valentine's Day Massacre turned Chicago into a symbol of organized crime. But even that era shaped its character, gritty, defiant, and unstoppable. Through the Great Depression, World War II, and the Civil Rights Movement, Chicago evolved again and again. Its factories fueled America's industrial might, its workers built the machines that won wars, and its people, immigrants, dreamers, artists, shaped the nation's story. In the latter half of the 20th century, Chicago reinvented itself yet again. The factories gave way to finance, education, and art. The Chicago skyline grew taller. The Willis Tower, once known as the Sears Tower, became the tallest building in the world. The city's lakefront parks, museums, and architecture drew millions of visitors. Today, Chicago stands as one of America's great cities, a blend of history and modernity, resilience and reinvention. Its neighborhoods tell stories of every culture that has passed through its streets, from the Polish bakeries of Avondale to the jazz clubs of Bronzeville, from the Italian restaurants of Taylor Street to the shimmering towers along the Chicago River. The wind still howls through its streets, carrying whispers of the past, of the fire that once consumed it, of the gangsters that ruled its shadows, of the workers who built its towers, and of the dreamers who refused to give up. Chicago is not just a city, it is a statement, a reminder that no matter how many times you fall, you can rise again. It is a city built on ambition, tested by tragedy, and defined by resilience. From swamp to skyline, from ashes to greatness, Chicago's story is the story of America itself, bold, restless, and forever reaching for the sky.